Atamari Guro Jee Choi, Floro Fighting Systems. So, this is Guro Tim's super customized Genovations modifications on fellow Kiwi, Bryan Baker's Svord von Tempsky Bowie. Let me explain to you. This is a shout out to Bryan. How are you, good sir? Hopefully everything's well. Hopefully you're still not scoring about that last order cancellation. But that's a different story. But Bryan, if you're watching this, how are you? Hopefully everything's well. Your notorious reputation is super well deserved in a good way, because Bryan Svord, Mr. Baker, aka, he makes the most indestructible Bowie ever known to man. Let's just say that. And Svord knives, that's something that they're quality, and not to mention the blades are they're indestructible. If I remember correctly, it was some sort of a Swedish powder steel, but they pretty much might as well have made out of something that's like Excalibur, because it is crazy. And not to mention with J.I. Hockey lanyard, it does that, but I got a ceiling right here, so I really have to watch out for it, because I absolutely do not want to put a hole in my garage door. But phenomenal, single edge, absolutely beautiful, razor sharp. Does not have a back edge, but this is because of New Zealand's restricted laws on anything that's double edge. So this is not really on Bryan Baker nor the Svord's issues. But as my teacher, Master James Keating, often said, shout out to Uncle Jim, how are you? Hopefully everything's well. You don't necessarily need a back edge. You just need the tip. And let me grab out one of these, I'll show you. The purpose of the back edge or back cuts are to cut if you can, but remember, the talons of an eagle or raptor is not something where it's edge. It is, the tip is razor sharp. It's meant to rip. Damn, this thing hits hard, so I'm gonna try. It makes the contact with the tip, and it still produces a very robotic, but it is a cut. Robust cut that can rip. And that's what the back edge is meant to do. So even without the absence of an edge, the tip's still there. People who know some tricks, such as certain fat boy people, I won't go too much into the question, but what they do is they round off 1/8 of an inch from the tip, so it's blunt. So it creates, when you execute a back cut, a rip versus a simple finer cut. Not to mention, this thing is still fine. It cuts very well. Now the modification that I've done on this is Genovations single ridge wrap in hemp cord, natural hemp. This is very difficult to do because measuring on the length of the hemp cord that's only 2 millimeters to create this is very difficult. But absolutely turned out magnificent. And once Murakami Sensei's lacquer touches this, it hardens and creates this unique texture that is just unbelievable. It's like stippling. Without the stippling, it doesn't move. So I love that. Obviously, the hockey length lanyard allows for secure retention and also tricks if you know how, but I got a low ceiling height here, so I do not want to put any holes in there. So there you go. People who knows the tricks to buoys, the first leading authority when it comes to buoy knife, I always say, Master James Keating. You could talk to Uncle Jim, and there's not a single component of Bowie knife nor his history that he does not master. So by all means, talk to Uncle Jim. He'll be more than happy to explain to you on this better than anyone else who is alive. And tell him that Nephew G says hi. But this is just, oh my gosh, no. Not to mention, if you do, even with this, I could deflect And not because there's a guard, I could even trap and conceal Yaga, lock and disarm. This thing does everything. I absolutely love that about that. And the guard is it's an iron guard. This thing will withstand impact and also prevent your hand from slipping forward. And the best of all, the guard there, guys, although it is an S guard, which is the type of guard that I absolutely hate, because the thing about the S guard is S guard draws the attack into you instead of repelling it out, which is what the forward curving guard is supposed to do. But even with this, I could still do my usual things. I could disarm if I need to, trap and disarm on that. And the thing about this Bowie is it is still razor sharp all around. So how I typically edge my blades is from Fort, which is the base right here, where the guard ends, guard meets the blade. From Fort to about this much section is I leave it blunt, because that way I could use for trapping, and if need to, if it's super blunt, I could use it for even blocking without worrying about the edge damage, as long as it's well heat treated and tempered to withstand that kind of impact. And this midsection will be semi-sharp, and this from here, the top 1/3 is razor sharp. That's the way I like to have my blades, just because that allows me to cut where I want to, literally severing. If it was a fight, I could sever fingers just from a touch, while I could still execute my Nganyo, and they'll be good enough to delimb if need to be. And because the length of the handle is generously long, this also excels in dos manos. So if you need to use that for two-handed application against someone who's wielding a machete or a baseball bat, you can still do that. Another reason why you might go dos manos, if you're chopping down a tree, trying to do that single hand, you might not have enough power or the fulcrum. But if with two hand, it will kind of make it a little bit easier. So on that front, well done. Now, I'm sure you guys know this, but those of you who follow my Facebook, Guro Tim has been super generous in helping me, and especially on a trade that he did recently. So this is my way of showing gratitude for thanks. He'll be taking home this with him today, which is G Innovations, the last of the Legend series. This is Bob Bergey's Bowie training knife with G Innovation single ridge wrap and blood red 550 cord, and also with black hemp cord that's lacquered underneath. So this is just absolutely perfect for it. It literally, let me just pull out the Svord Bowie one more time. Okay, so I'm gonna put this out in my hands. It looks like this. So then, obviously this is missing a guard, but for training wise, it is safer to train with something that's slightly shorter in edge length. So what happens is, according to my old friends, is when you use something like this with a lesser blade length when you use this, so by the time you touch your make contact with whatever the target you're trying to strike, and if you get used to practicing this, what happens is, with a live blade, because this is about an inch shorter, for a live blade, you would have already made that contact. So that's something that is freaking awesome about this thing. Svord Bowie. These are really, even back when I first contacted Bryan to try to acquire some of these, and sadly we had to cancel a couple orders because the crew that I was teaching back then, there were 6 of them, and we're all hoping to get one that's customized by Bryan with a custom sharpened back edge. But they ended up fumbling, and I ended up with only 2 guys wanting this, and sadly that was not enough for that particular order. But Bryan was super outstanding dude who understood and was understanding of that situation. So someone that I was hoping to contact again when I'm back home in Aotearoa. So that will eventually happen again. And when that does, I'll actually pay a visit, and hopefully I can get a couple customized ones with forward curving guards if possible. But Svord Bowie, phenomenally done. My wrapping, probably the best on this one for the hemp core wise. Alright, so the Legend Series Bowie trainer. Kydex even turned out perfect too. Guro Tim, he's been an amazing brother to me for many, many years. Thanks, Tim, for everything. So he really deserves this. So he'll be taking this home. Alright, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day. Again, I had some extra time because the gang's not here yet. So when everybody's in, we'll rock and roll. Later.